My name is Shubham Sharma. I'm doing my PGDM from ITM Business School, Kharghar, and I'm in online internship with DORAI Foundation for the next 15 days. So my
Okay.
area will be interviews with social activists. So
Okay.
today I'm interviewing Ma'am Chitra, who is gold medalist from Madras School of Social Work, and she's working towards changing the life of people with disabilities with over 17 years of experience in his field. And she is also the founder and director of Satya Special School, which is a center for children with intellectual disabilities. So, ma'am, can you please tell me something about yourself?
Something about myself. Okay.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
I actually grew up in a very academic, strict South Indian family
Ma'am.
where the focus was on getting educated and probably flying off to America.
Okay,
Something that I did not want, and in spite of doing very well and getting into a very prestigious university for doing biochemistry, somehow my heart was not there. So I started wandering around the campus and I saw a career counseling program. And just to kill time, I walked in and I heard a professor of social work talk very passionately about how social work could change the world. So I thought that is going to be my calling in life, and gave my group discussion and my application and got my admission. And when I went back home, my father was extremely upset that I did not take up something that will take me to America. His reaction was that if you have to go and work in the slums and give bathe the children, why should you do a master's? You can, just like that work. That was his idea of social work. And then I was always keen on women issues because I'm a hardcore feminist. So I started taking a lot of interest as even while in college. And my in my second year, my thesis was on this practice of female infanticide, where as soon as a baby is born, if it's a girl child, they would kill the child, right? So I went and stayed with this community, particular community in the south of India, which was following this, and came up with a thesis that actually gave me my gold medal finally. And after that, I started working with commercial sex workers because I somewhere thought that it was a life that was not worth living if you were forced into prostitution. And after that, I somehow things did not work out in social work the way I
mm,
wanted. I came across a lot of people who spoke very highly but did not do anything, or you know it was very disappointing. As a young girl, I thought my degree in social work will really help me change the world. Then I went on to work with the Confederation of Indian Industry because I was able to do some writing. I left social work and got into corporate life. That's how I met my husband, got married, and settled down in a very, very conservative Gujarati business family, which expected the women to be home and not work. And I guess I was somewhere not fully prepared for it because I have never stayed home and I don't think I can cook even till date the way they expect women to cook. And after my son was born, I think I had too much time in hand and I didn't know what to do. And that is when I actually went to a psychiatrist for advice and counseling. And that visit actually changed my life.
So, ma'am, where do you get your passion for working for the people with disabilities?
So when I visited this psychiatrist,
Yes,
um,
ma'am.
He just looked at me and said, Chitra, I think you're not depressed or anything. I think you're just a bored housewife. If you have time, come and volunteer in my clinic. And he also happens to be a special needs expert and was working in the University of Leeds. And after his retirement, he came back to Pondicherry and he was practicing free. So I went to him. Like I started volunteering, and every Wednesday was this doctor's free clinic for children with disabilities. Two consecutive Wednesdays, I met a 13-year-old girl with Down syndrome who actually came to us with cut marks on her hands and legs. After the second week, the doctor just asked me if I could go and do a house visit. I said, okay. I took down the address. Nobody would take me there
Hmm.
because they all hesitated, because this was the Pondicherry dump yard where all the
Okay.
garbage from the city got collected and got. I landed up there at 4 o'clock in the evening. I saw two rows of huts that were occupied by the local gypsy community. This particular hut, which I went looking for, was actually isolated. A very, very small hut with three walls, mud walls, and a door. When I went there at 4, the door was locked. There was huge lock outside. I stood there and asked for the mother. They said she was picking rags, and if I could wait, they would send word. While I was waiting, I could kind of hear, kind of a weaning noise
Hmm.
from inside the hut. But because there were no doors, no windows, I couldn't figure out what was happening. After about 10 minutes, the mother very casually, she came and opened the door, and God, the stink that hit my nose was unbearable. I saw this 13-year-old girl locked up and tied up to a plastic chair with nylon ropes. And when I asked the mother why she was doing something like this, she just said, my husband ran away the day he realized this was a special needs child. My own family did not want me. My husband's family did not want me and my child. I don't have an education. The only job that I could get was that of a construction laborer. So, what do you expect single mothers like me to do? This story kind of disturbed me a lot. And I wanted to change lives of not just the girl, but also the mothers. And that is my, I think that is that is my DNA. I want to
Yes.
change their lives, and that's why I'm working with.
That's from where you got the idea for women
Yes,
empowerment and
yes.
also that Satya Special School. So,
So you
ma'am,
know what? Though the
hmm,
child is special,
yes,
there is always a mother behind who wants to change the world, who wants to change her life, who wants to give the child the best. And I
yes,
think my journey is just to support these mothers and gather up these mothers, give them the strength that they can't find anywhere else. So that's the journey.
it was nice. So, ma'am, where is the idea of that Satya Special School came from? Means how many time after this incident?
I think immediately after this incident, we a group of like-minded people gathered up.
Yes,
Everybody wanted to give something back to the society, and we started just to, so the first thing I told these mothers were that when you go to work for 8 hours, I will give you a place. So one of the reasons why the mother tied up the girl was because by the time she was 13, she was already sexually abused and molested twice. So that gave me the idea that I should give these girls and these children a safe place when the mothers went out to earn money. And that is how we started. And that's also why I don't believe in a residential program. It would have been very simple to tell these mother, I'm starting a hostel, send your children to us. But we didn't want to do that. I wanted the mothers to learn to take care of them, because I think that I can, however committed I am, I can never replace a mother, you know.
Obviously.
So I think it is important for children with special needs to grow in the family, and it's important for organizations like us to help the family cope with this child and bring the best of his abilities out. And that is what we are trying to do.
It was quite a very great initiative, ma'am. So there must be many challenges when you started the school back in 2003. So can you remember some of those incidents which was
Oh,
quite
yes.
difficult?
One of the biggest challenges was, what is your problem? You don't even have a child with a special need. Why
Yeah.
are you getting involved in this? Uh, I think, because I come from a fairly comfortable background, people thought I was getting into social work because I wanted to get into politics, or because we had a lot of black money where I wanted to convert it into
Hmm.
whatever it is. Nobody thought that you could actually commit yourself for somebody else, right?
Yes.
More importantly, I think it was, see, I grew up, I mean, compared to all the other women that I see, I grew up with a lot of privileges, including like a choice of the person I married is my own choice. A lot of women don't have that. And I think as a woman, if I have those liberties, and if
Liberty.
I had all that in life, I should share it with others. And that is what I want to do, and that is what I'm doing, or I'm trying
Yes.
to do.
So I have read that more than around 200 businesses are run by the women under that credit facility, microcredit facility.
Yeah.
So
See what happens, no? All
yeah,
these mothers who come to me,
yeah,
initially the first thing they tell me is, why me? Why did God choose me?
mm,
Right? Because there is a belief that disability is a punishment of God, and the mother has committed a sin because of which God has given her a child like this. And that's why most mothers are not accepted. The children are also not accepted because they think the child is inauspicious, right? But all these mothers have one thing common: the children have a special need, but the mother doesn't, right? And she
right.
also has this drive. See, some of my mothers have been given an option either to take the child, leave the child in maybe an orphanage or a temple or church, or to walk out of the family with the child. And
Mm,
these mothers have decided to walk out. Okay. So already she has somewhere told herself that her life is going to be difficult. Already she has told herself that she wants to make a difference. Right. So it's very easy to work with these mothers. And when we started analyzing what did she need, most of them needed a job. They needed
yes.
a job, like they needed economic, financial support.
Financial support.
And that financial support is got to do a lot with the dignity. It is very simple for me to say, okay, I will give you everything, I'll even provide food for you, but that will be charity.
Yes.
But I wanted to do charity, but I wanted to do charity keeping their dignity also intact.
Yes.
And that is why I wanted to finance. See, once financial empowerment comes into these women, then they are willing to go to any extent to ensure that their child leads a near normal life. And that is why we got into supporting the women to do, if a mother can only cook, she can only make idli, we tell her, go start a shop which only supplies breakfast. You don't have to do 100 things.
Yes.
If you can't even do that, if all you can do is to sell vegetables, please go ahead and do that. Even if you are earning 100, rupees, 150 rupees a day, do it with dignity so that you are
Yes.
not dependent on somebody else.
And charity is a short term thing, because if you give someone something, it will end up so soon. But
Yeah.
if you give them jobs, it will last for long and they will maintain it.
I think that's the success, right?
Yes.
Satya started with 20 children. Today I have about 1,000 plus children.
Yeah, more than 1,000 and 9 branches.
So yeah. So that's simply because the mothers have got empowered. The mothers are capable of handling. We've seen success. There's no pain. Children are laughing and smiling and happy.
Yeah. So all the 9 branches are in Puducherry, ma'am, or in Gujarat also?
Okay, no, no, no. There are like 12 branches now.
Okay.
One is in a place called Pollachi, which is about 7 hours from here in Tamil Nadu,
Okay.
closer to Coimbatore.
Hmm.
And all the others are in and around Pondicherry. See,
Okay.
when I mean 9 branches, you know what the philosophy behind it is. Generally, all this work and all these services are available only in the urban centers. But 70% of the disabled population is in the villages.
Rural areas.
And a single mother, or even a mother who is living with her husband in the village,
Hmm.
also needs to go to the fields to earn. She doesn't, and unless she also goes to work, she is not able to keep 3 square meals on the table. Then, where is the question of asking her to travel to a city in her expense
Yes.
to take these services? Then these children don't get any services at all. That is why we had to go to the child's doorstep. So we wanted to ensure that we reach the unreached population. That's also why we work in about 44 villages in Pondicherry, in and around Pondicherry.
So the ma'am, the sort of businesses like vegetables, making food, that sort of small businesses under
Some of them
micro.
are also gone big. You know, one lady runs a DTP unit. Sorry, another one sells about, I think, 300, 400 women under her, and they all sell clothes on installment. So some have also gone bigger,
Yeah.
some have stayed small. Sorry,
It's okay.
give me a minute, I'll get
Yeah,
some
sure,
water
ma'am.
and I'll
Sure,
come
ma'am.
back.
It's okay.
Sorry, yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
So, ma'am, basically, when you just started like 15, 20 years ago, so at that time, the scenario of women empowerment, and if you compare that scenario from now, then what is the differences back then?
I think when we started, um, the mothers would only talk about the pain that they're going through. It was like they had no hope for the future, right? But
Yes,
today, most mothers who come already have a lot of information about their child. They also know that they are not the only person in the world who's having a child with a disability. And somewhere, I think they have accepted the fact that they have a child with a special need and want to look forward in life rather than before, when they thought, life was over for me. This is all. That's a huge, even in the
yeah,
villages I see this. And then I think, to an extent, everybody has access to education, so you still don't have so much mothers who've never been to school or dropped out. You don't have mothers like that. They all have gone to at least 8th standard, 10th standard, 12th standard,
yes.
something. And the other thing is, I think somewhere there is a lot more acceptance of women wanting to make a difference. Even in the villages, when I go, if there's a mother who says, I want to go selfish, or I want to, do something other than to bring extra income into the house, or I want to do a tailoring unit, there's a lot more support today, and there's a lot more acceptance today. Her own family is saying, okay, if you want to do it, you can go ahead and do it. I think women empowerment, especially in the south of India,
Yes.
I think is fairly. I don't see. Um, I think sometimes I feel the men need to be empowered now, because they are all not doing what they are supposed to do, and it's the women who is calling the shots,
Yes.
right? In some
And
cases.
basically in South India, means people are more educated than rest
Yes,
of the
yes, yes,
country.
yes, yes.
Definitely, it
See,
is.
even if they are, I think always it's been a society which did give an equal share to the women. We all had a say in the family. It was not very male dominated that way. Most households, no, it will start with controlling what is spent, what is brought in. Savings was always done by the women. So I think women empowerment is now become part of life, not unless they are very religious or very conservative. Very few families.
So, ma'am, as I gone through your document you sent to me, I saw there's a mobile therapy unit which
Yeah.
provide intervention to home-based intervention to rural areas. So, what it is basically about?
So, see, though Pondicherry is a very, very small place,
Yeah.
it's not very well connected with public transport system.
Okay.
Okay. So, what happens is, if you are in the city, you
Hmm.
will get all your facilities. If you are in the rural centers, rural villages, you'll just be sitting at home. How do we ensure that every child born with a disability or the special need gets services? The only way to do that is for us to reach them at their homes. So that is what we did through our mobile unit. We took intervention to their doorstep. We provided home based intervention.
Hmm.
But more importantly, we started empowering the mothers there. She started understanding her child. She started being part of the whole process. She was a co therapist. Even if our vehicles don't go, she knew what has to be done to the child. And that was what was the success of COVID also. During the pandemic, when there was
Yes.
a lockdown, nobody panicked. All the mothers knew what their child can do, what the child cannot do, what was the mood swings, what was the regular behavior pattern of the child, because they were involved with the child. And that is the success of that mobile unit.
So, ma'am, you have done a lot of work on ground level, like revolutionary work, basically. So, do you think that academics play a very important role?
Academics for whom?
Means people like literate people and illiterate people.
Actually, you know what? Sometimes I have found more resistance
Hmm.
for change among people who are so called educated, whereas sometimes I feel the so called illiterate in the rural centers and the rural villages accept change much faster. Like, can you imagine online classes,
Yes.
right? How does a child who does not have, like, a cell phone is a luxury,
Yeah.
just even so a button phone is a luxury in some families. We are talking about Android phones which can have online connection. Impossible, right?
Yes.
So what did we do in Satya? We had something called a mobile tab lending library. Every day morning, 5 to 6 tabs would get loaded with, like a textbook, will
Yeah.
get loaded with videos, will get loaded with assignments. Our animators in the village would take it and hand it over to the mother. It would be fully charged at our end. Hand it over to the mother. We would teach her how to handle the tab. So I have illiterate mothers, so-called illiterate mothers,
Yeah.
become so tech friendly, tech savvy, that today they can probably even handle a laptop, right?
Yes.
Whereas a mother sitting, so called, even a graduate mother sitting in an urban center, if I tell her, can you buy or can you take your husband's cell phone and try and get onto WhatsApp and do this, she would struggle because she has other things like, the serial in the television,
Yeah,
which is
obviously.
far more interesting than wanting to learn. So I think literate, not literate,
Yeah. It
I guess
doesn't
it's
matter
easier
much.
to work with people who are not literate but willing to change.
Actually, the people who are not literate, they have more will than the people who are
Yeah.
literate.
See, because you are already at a disadvantage
Yeah.
because you're not educated. You're already at a disadvantage because anybody can fool you. You're at a disadvantage that people don't respect you because you don't have a so called education. So you start life being in that disadvantaged position. And if you want to really come up, you need to fight your way through, right? And the will is much stronger.
Yes.
And the need is also much stronger.
So, ma'am, what are the future plans regarding Satya? Means you are going to expand it more, or like,
So my biggest future plan
yeah,
is to ensure that every single child with a special need gets included into mainstream society. So we'll want to work towards getting Pondicherry more accessible, where anybody with a wheelchair, anybody with visual impairment, anybody with hearing impairment can walk on the streets without any support. And yes, of course, a lot more centers of Satya. And more importantly, I think I want to get a number of young people excited about working with disability and also get the community to play its role. I think somewhere we've all become isolated species. We all need to kind of get together, try and support each other, and especially in the villages where there is still so much left. So if there are only 6 children with special needs in a village, I think the entire village needs to come forward to take care of them, rather than I as an outsider go and take
hmm,
care of you. Somewhere we need to build community networks and community framework for it, so that things happen.
that
There
social
needs to
feeling
be a
needs to
huge
be,
movement for that to happen.
yeah.
Yes. Inclusion and accessibility would definitely be my focus.
So, ma'am, what is your message for the persons like us who wants to give it back to the society, like who are still
What
doing
is the
their
message?
studies?
The big message is that I don't expect all of you to give up what you're doing. You know, continue what you're doing, but in your journey, take along one person with you. Huh? Maybe a person who has a special need, somebody who is marginalized. Imagine we are a country of 1.3 billion. If
Yes.
each of us, or even 50% of us, decide to change the life of one extra person, that means the whole society, right? The whole community and the whole country.
Yeah.
So just, you don't have to do too many things. Just one person and that person's life you could change. And if you could do that, and each one of you could do that, like it has to be like the COVID. It has to become contagious. It has to spread, and it has to be replicated. Isolated pockets here and there of people
Hmm.
doing 1,000 children is not sustainable. But if each one of us take up one child and see that that child's life changes, I think we've done our job.
And if we
That's,
become capable of changing someone's life, that would be a
you
great
don't
change.
see, there is sometimes, there is nothing that that person wants. You look around,
Hmm.
There might be somebody who is old, who just needs you to listen to their story for like 10 minutes. But we don't have that time, huh? To just
Yeah.
sit next to a grandfather and say, okay, abhi to 10 minute hai, batao kya bolna hai. We don't say, no, Dadaji starts talking and say, oh, Dadaji, don't get into lecturing mode or don't bore me.
Happens.
I think it's very simple. Something like maybe a child who is going through cancer, or a child who is going through some issues in life, or a mother who has got a child with a special need. Just spend a day of your life. That's all that people need. Money, material is nothing. Huh? Anybody who has so much can give. But what people need is to sit and say, okay, I care about you and I'm there to listen. Just a shoulder to lean on and a ear to lend is all people need, especially people with disabilities. They don't need anything from us, but that, kind hearted smile is all that they need sometimes. And see what you get in return. I always tell this, sometimes in my own moods, when I'm walking around Satya and I ignore a child who is trying to get my attention, that kid
Hmm.
comes behind you, taps you, and asks you what is wrong. Why did you ignore me? Right? How
Yes.
many people do this? My own children don't do this. We are so called normal, but actually I think they are normal, we are abnormal, because we
Abnormal.
seem to be ignoring all this.
Yes.
Right? If you met Sumitra, and if you are in Sai, right,
Yeah.
you see the kind of energy that is there, and the atmosphere that is created. How, I mean, it just needs us to be there. We need to fit in there. It's not they need to fit in to our lives, right? So that's what you need to do.
It's
You,
our bad luck that we missed out the opportunity because we are doing it all online this time.
it's okay, but you can still
But we can still
get
visit
as
the.
much energy when she's talking on the
Yeah, obviously we
right.
talked yesterday
It's only
only.
that. And if more Sumitras get created, I think nothing like it. And more size get created. Or see, you don't actually need to do 10 children. Start with one, and that one will have its own repelling effect, right?
Right, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your
You're
time.
welcome.
I know it's been a very busy schedule for you.
It's
Still, you
okay.
make out time for us. Right.
Anything for Sumitra, actually, no issues at all.
And it's a truly immense pleasure talking to you, ma'am. It's so nice.
Same here. All the very best in your
Thank.
careers, and just keep that in mind. No, one person along with you in your life.
Yeah.
That's all that is
Definitely,
needed.
ma'am.
Sure, ma'am.
Thank you so
Definitely,
much,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much, ma'am.
Thank
It
you.
was
Thank you
great to
very much.
listen
Thank
your
you.
experience.
Thank
It was
you.
great to listen your experience, ma'am. And insight.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah. Bye.
Bye, ma'am. Have a good day.
Recording of
Suman, call ended. Meeting is over.